Hello, welcome to the next lesson. In this case, we're going to work with the image of the forest we previously did. And we're going to start with the lasso and we'll fill it with the color we'll have preset. And well, it's just putting this lighting we have in mind with the help of the color palette we created to start giving a bit more shape to the composition we have. Let's see the features of the sketch we have previously done. And from that, we'll start coloring it. As I was saying, we grabbed the color palette and helped by the brush and the selection tool along with the layers and such, basically the way you work in Photoshop, we'll keep creating this landscape based in what we have in mind. As you see, I'm introducing certain lighting zones depending on the way the sketch was made. We can remember that it was lighted from above, so the light came from the treetops and ended up lighting part of the way, some parts of the leaves, the trunks, etc. This is basically how I drew the trunks. Because I'm having some problems with the screen recorder, so I'm sorry. I made a gradient, I applied a brush with the dissolve blending mode in a lighter tone, and then I made those darker strokes. And that's how I did it, so I'm sorry. It happened a couple of times and it's really hard to recover those lost parts. Anyway, let's move on. As I said, on the previous lesson, the part closest to the eye of the viewer will be darker. And as you can see, I used one of the brushes I included inside the pack I provided, and that is the Foliage Brush. These brushes, I think I forgot to mention it, are from the Adobe website from Kyle Webster, which are basically concept brushes in which there are several preset adjustments which are quite crucial when establishing our own drawing. For example, it helps to have some shapes or textures which are quite convenient when developing a concept. For example, the birds, stone texture, or the leaves, which as you see I'm using now in order to give a bit more three-dimensionality to the way we're creating. If you look closer, it has a quite geometric look. It's something that I obviously looked for because, as I was telling you, we want something simple that is expressed in a very synthesized way. And I think this is the most similar that we're going to find in case we're working in a quite fast way and that we're almost fighting against the clock. As you see, we keep completing everything using the color palette we have. Sometimes I change a bit the color we have there almost through the force of habit. But, well, the question is, what brushes would you need to try in this case in order to work in the best way? Well, I would recommend you to use the brushes you see most attractive for you, and if not, just open a Photoshop document with a neutral color and try them one by one so you can decide which one you need to use when creating your illustrations or designs. Choosing which one is the most appropriate depends on both on the person and on using the logic, because you won't be applying a rock texture to a tree or vice versa, which is a bit more complex than what it seems at first glance, but well, with a bit of practice and, as I was trying to say, through a well-established manner, creating a new file with a neutral color, as I was saying, and making straight strokes or maybe some kind of curve to see how the brush works in both cases. And depending on what you like the most or what you don't like, just adapt it to your way of using it. In my case, since it's a forest, I'm focusing more in the zones with leaves and some grass And this way we can find that most of it is part of the green that we find in the closed color palette we have. And that's it, just applying leaf or plant brushes so we can keep adapting the brush to what we can express. As you can see, it's starting to take shape, and we've just been applying layer over layer, mostly color layers actually. And it's just completing a bit and trying to play with the brushes we have to try and make the viewer think he's in a forest, with a certain lighting, with a precise direction, a vanishing point, a horizon line, etc. And well, that's basically it. Also, try to play from time to time. In this case, I'm trying to get out of the palette in order to give more shining zones. And as we previously did, with the light spot the sun gives us, keep completing the illustration. And well, we start seeing some volume in the tree branches, and this is how it would look without the clipping mask, which is a quite interesting result. But well, we're going to keep working with the layers and brushes blending modes in order to keep adding darkness and such. So if you want to darken it a bit, you can use multiply, and this way you don't necessarily have to create a white light spotlight with the brush. But using the same darkness of the layer you just created, you can try to give it a bit of luminosity to the atmosphere. It's what I did. I created a layer with the multiply blending mode using a brown color, and then using the eraser, I erase the parts I think are best. For example, in this case, I used a diffused edges brush, and using a light yellow tone, I made a little spot at the top, so it looks like the lighting is a bit more exaggerating, so to speak. And well, now with that brush I just selected, I'm working on some light zones that I may be interested in making it look like the light is being reflected in the ground, like some little plants near it, etc. This way we get a very interesting result, and with a couple simple strokes and having a bit more knowledge on lighting and composition, this will get better, and as you keep practicing, it will get even better. If you have any doubt or whatever, I'll be delighted to answer it in the forum. Remember, you can ask me anything that may seem strange for you. Your final project itself is presenting the 4 images with your specific color palette here in the top left margin, and see how you work with those different zones. See? This way it will result in a more relaxed lighting thanks to using these geometric shapes, which are more appropriate for the ground in order to give it this more synthetic touch. And well, that would be all for this lesson. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you on the next one. See you soon.